Welcome to Confessions of a Wannabe It Girl. I'm your host, Marley Fregging, and I'm here to help you filter out all the bullshit and become the next It Girl. This podcast explores the reality of what it really takes to make it out there. As it turns out, it is way less Instagrammable than I thought it was going to be. I'm still very much a work in progress, but there's simply nothing else I'd rather be doing than chasing my dreams. So let's learn from my mistakes and work together to achieve our dreams with more confidence, clarity, and direction. Let's get after it. Hi guys, welcome back to Confessions of a Wannabe It Girl. I am joined by fellow podcaster from the Beautiful Soul Led Life podcast, as well as CEO of Femme Elegance and founder of the FemmeTypes, Tara Marino. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, I'm so excited. It's true. Beautiful Soul Led Life podcast is a mouthful. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah, but it's like a good one, so I wanted to get it right.
Okay. Fair enough.
Very good.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. So I am so excited today to talk to you about something I think a lot of us think about, balancing it all, setting ourselves up to be in flow with support and structure and ease. So I think we can all agree that's something we would like to have in our lives.
Yeah, I think so. I think that what we're beginning to recognize more and more as women is that balance looks so different. Like, I think as little girls, we're set up with the idea that it has to look a certain way and that we have to figure it all out and that it has to be perfect. And we put so much freaking pressure on ourselves to exceed expectations, to figure it all out in advance, and to feel that if we don't have the perfect plan, then we're somehow going to miss out on something that we want in our lives. And what I've learned, and I'm continuing to learn in my life, is that really what is ours will find us. So if we want a family, if we want this gorgeous career, we just choose both. We just choose both. Right? We don't have to squeeze the plan. We don't have to manipulate ourselves into some crazy structure. We literally just choose it and we allow it.
Oh, I think that's so important to talk about, because I do think there is a mentality of, well, you can't have it all. And then there's also maybe dually as toxic, you can have it all. And it feels like you can't figure it out. So, allowing it.
Yeah. You know what I would say? I love that you brought that forward, because I think a little nuance to that might be fun to explore is this idea that you're supposed to want it all. And this idea of what it all is so different to every single one of us. And with this pressure of what it's supposed to look like on Instagram, or, we can have it all as long as we are clearly identifying what all is for us, and that it's uniquely what we want, not what we're supposed to want, not what will look good on social, not what might impress someone else, but really what is the experience and expression of all of who we are.
Well, and I think that is like ideally the place we want to all be, but for some people, myself included, it can be hard to uncover that at times because we get so lost in the world of social media. How do we really look inwards and start to find what we actually want as our own it's?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And I think it's not like a black and white answer. I feel like it's a real gray area, which can make our egos super uncomfortable. Like, we want the answers. Just tell me. Is it right? Is it wrong? Do I want it? Do I not want it? Just tell me what it is so I can move on. And exploring the gray, like slowing down enough to feel like, do I really desire that? Let me move towards it. Let me experience it and get feedback and give myself full permission to change my freaking mind if I want to be flexible, to move in a direction and say, actually, no, it's not for me. Or, oh my God, I didn't know if I was going to like this and I freaking love it. I'm going all in. I think we need to really slow down and allow ourselves to explore. Like, we tend to sit back in life and say, all right, I'm not sure. Do I want it? Do I not want it? Let me sit here and figure it out. And once I have 100% guarantee, then I'll move forward. We don't experience life that way. We need to move forward. We need to lean in, and we need to trust ourselves with the feedback of, does this turn me on or does it not? If it doesn't, I get to say no, even if I just said yes I get to change my mind and say no and move into a different direction. We need to give ourselves that permission.
I couldn't agree more. Has there been a time in your life that you did this exploring, and what did it look like for you? I know it's going to be different per person, but.
Yes. So I have, like all of us, I have a lot of defining moments in my life that we can talk about, and some more, I would say, emotionally intense than others. But what just showed up when you said that to me, it's like, I remember, so at this point in my life, I think I was like 35, maybe. I had moved to France with my family. I already had a very, very successful business. I was coaching. Everything was going beautifully. We reached 7 figures in a pretty record amount of time. And I thought, oh my gosh, I want to go to fashion school. And my mind was like, are you freaking nuts? I mean, what are you doing? Why are you going to rock the boat? You're successful over here. You're good at this. Like, what are you doing? So that leap of trusting myself, of getting really quiet inside and feeling the what if, like, what if I gifted myself permission to do this? You know, the butterflies that are like, wait, what? And I remember filling out the application for fashion school and thinking, in Paris, by the way, it's not like fashion school in Idaho.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, nothing against Idaho, but you know, it was like fashion school in Paris. It's just
No. Yeah, there's like more pressure there.
It felt like, you know, but plus it was going all in with my dreams. And I think that's something that we can look at, all of us internally, as a discernment. Like, am I playing safe? Am I exploring something because I have a full guarantee inside of I can do it? Or am I like, oh my gosh, this is scary as, I don't know. Are we allowed? Are we cussing on this?
Yeah, you cuss away.
Okay. There's some asterisk. My podcast manager was like, okay, I have to mark this one explicit. I'm like, okay.
Every single one of mine are probably explicit.
So scary as fuck, right? We're going to lean into this edge of, can I experience this for myself? So I did that. So I applied to fashion school. I got in and I went to fashion school. And then I came home and I told my husband, we're moving to Paris. He's like, you're crazy. We were living in the French Alps already with our 2 young boys. They were 4 and 7. I'm like, no, we're going to move to Paris. He's like, do you understand the cost of living in Paris is twice what it is? And we're already living in euros and we're making money in dollars. And I'm like, yes, let's go. And we lived there for 4 years. Within 2 years after that, I had a runway on the Parisian catwalk. So yes, that was one of the experiences of leaning in and exploring. And, you know, life is this, and it sounds so cliche, but life is an adventure. It is meant for us to experience it. It is not about checking things off the freaking list so that we can prove to ourselves that we did it right. That doesn't exist. And it's so easy to get addicted to this path of, okay, you know, check, did it. Okay, everybody, look, I'm successful. Like that constant checking in with ourselves, like, do I feel alive? And that would be, if I was going to isolate the one question of, do I really desire this, is to ask ourselves, does it make me feel alive? And to be really honest with the response, because it might be shocking to hear, no, it doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, I do think you have to address a lot of ego and, you know, with that, as well as like maybe, you know, income associated with it. And sometimes it's a hard one to let go, but, you know, time is the one thing we have is time, but the one thing we don't have is time at the same time. So it's a very interesting thing to be met with. And, you know, there's so much pressure in today's like American society, and I'm sure others as well, to have this like perfect Instagram life and this hustle and culture. And there's a lot of pressure also to be successful in business, which you definitely have. You've had fashion shows in Paris, you've raised children, you're the CEO of Elegant Femmes. Like, what has led you to be this productive and stay that productive while still having a full life?
Yeah. I think it really is. It's where all of this was birthed from. So Elegant Femme was created from a really deep, dark time in my life. I was 25 years old and I was pregnant with my firstborn son. And it was like, I don't know. I felt this leaning back and relaxing into life, I was like, I have a purpose. I am freaking going to be a mom. Like, I don't even care about anything else. Like, I'm good. I'm going to be the best mom ever. Like, all of my prayers felt answered. I felt so guided and directed. And as fate would have it, my firstborn son passed away in my arms from pneumonia. And it's so interesting to sit here with you, because I can tell the story as if it was somebody else's life living that. And at the same time, I can feel my cells like remembering that moment of, I mean, pain doesn't even, it doesn't even come close. And I know every single one of us, no matter if you can relate to that specific story or another one, but we all have experienced loss and pain and grief and this moment where we literally feel like life has been sucked out of us. And it is that crossroads for us of how are we going to choose to respond from that point? And for me, this journey of that loss, it was a good year, like so vulnerable and real with everyone that's listening. I was drinking a bottle of wine a night. I was on Xanax and Ambien, like anything I could do to just numb the pain, to get through another second, let alone a freaking day. Like, just forget it. And at the end of that year, when I was hating everyone, I hated my body. I had a freezer full of breast milk. Like, I couldn't even look at myself. I had a C-section scar. Like, I hated my body. I hated everyone. Like, I hated my husband. Nothing was going to satisfy the ache. And so about a year after, I was surrounded by lawyer paperwork. There was an opportunity for a lawsuit after he passed. And I remember literally screaming, like, why me? I was so angry. I was so confused. And a part of me thought, if I just had the answer to the why, then maybe it would make sense. And I remember hearing, like, when we got to be careful the questions we ask, all of us, because when we ask one, we get an answer. So when I was asking the why, my ego was very quick to respond to, well, you had an abortion when you were 17. Like, of course you deserve to be punished. How many things came up with about how I deserved this. And I heard the subtle whisper say, stop asking why and start asking how. Like, how are you going to move forward? Like, how are you going to respond? And the closest thing I could grasp at that point was like, what kind of mom would I want to be to Mason? Like, what? Like, that was the closest I could get in that moment. And for me, that was the beginning to, like, really considering my own power. Really stepping back into this place in my life of, okay, I as we know this, right? There's a Carl Jung quote, which I didn't know at the time, of, we can't always choose what happens to us. We can only choose how we respond. But forget it. At 26 years old, I hadn't even heard of Carl Jung. Like, forget it. All I needed was just some little nugget of, like, am I going to choose to be in my power with this? So I that's a long answer to your question, but it is that discernment inside that has kept me continuing to expand. How am I going to choose into my power? What does my next expression of me look like? How am I going to live me fully, truly, knowing that I've had the experience at a very young age that life is unbelievably sacred. So how am I going to choose to live my life in every second? And I now have two beautiful boys, almost 21 and 17. Oh God,
you're in for it.
So my oldest, middle one, actually, right? When they were little, they would pull on me when I'd say and they're like, no, Mommy, you have 3. So I have a 20-year-old in college and a 17-year-old who's going to graduate from high school this year. So it's like gifting ourselves permission to choose into the more. Like, what else do we want? It doesn't make us selfish. I don't know about you, but I was raised with this idea of, like, just be grateful for everything you have, which is beautiful. But I think we need to be careful of that, because I think sometimes, here's what I mean. I don't mean, like, don't be grateful for what you have.
I think I know exactly
what
you mean.
Like, don't, like, for us, we stop there. We're like, I should just be grateful for what I have. I don't want to be selfish and ask for more. And what I really believe is that we show our gratitude by asking for more. Yeah.
Totally. And I think sometimes as women, we're scared to ask for more because at one point the lesson was just be grateful, stop there. You don't need more.
Yeah.
And, I totally relate to that. I always say I'm a bumper sticker child. And what I mean by that, it's a weird phrase, but, the bumper stickers that we would tell ourselves, like, success comes from hard work and, being grateful is always the answer. I take these as true statements that have no gray area around them. And, as you get older, you learn to, sometimes things just take a little luck. They also happen in the right timing and, whatnot. It's not so black and white of these bumper sticker timings of just be grateful. There's always so much more to be said about the next steps in your life from these points. And so correct me if I'm wrong, the next step in your life after this horrible loss was to create the Elegant FemmeTypes.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it was like so wild because after I heard that voice saying, start asking how, I just felt this, possibility inside. Like, okay, how do I want to live now, right now, today? And the very next day I started journaling and I thought, all right, I'm going to just play a little bit in my life because I wasn't even taking showers. Like I said, I hated my body. So I started sketching little pieces of lingerie. I started journaling and I started just playing with this idea of the indie, the Frenchie, and the New Yorker. It was just fun for me. It was a way for me to get through the day. And so I started personalizing these aspects. So the indie became the aspect that was the being, the awareness of my self-worth, the awareness of my confidence, the awareness of who I was, regardless of what had happened to me. That again, that feeling of my inner knowing, my power, my ability to receive. And so I called this aspect the indie. Then I had the Frenchie. So look, I've been obsessed with speaking French and living in France since I was 14 years old. So for me, the Frenchie was all about enjoying.
Hold on. This is Wednesday.
What is its name?
Wednesday.
Oh my.
Like Wednesday Addams. Yes. Sorry, you were saying about the Frenchie. I was like, I can see her about to do it.
That is perfect. But that is perfect. Wow, you have to leave that in. That is perfect.
Okay.
You should leave it.
I'll leave it.
So the
for
Frenchie.
You.
Yeah, leave it for me. So the Frenchie is all about enjoying, all about beauty, all about pleasure, and really about this permission we can gift ourselves to enjoy at a very high level. Because, the Frenchie is really the femme type that the majority of women put on the back burner. Right? So that became the Frenchie. And then we had the New Yorker. And the very end is the New Yorker. And the New Yorker is the power and the prosperity. So when I first started describing this to myself, it was the being, the enjoying, and the doing, which I think now is even a little cliche. I mean, we're talking 17, 18, 19 years ago when I was doing this for myself. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So a little bit ahead of the curve on that. The New Yorker has transformed from doing into really allowing, because I've witnessed myself and my clients in this addiction to the doing. Right. So it's not that kind of doing. It's not doing to check things off and just to, it's really the allowing of the experience in our lives. So every day I started connecting with my indie, my Frenchie, and my New Yorker. And I noticed such a dramatic shift in the way I felt about myself, in the choices I was making, in the way that I was living, in the way I was prioritizing my desires. And so other women started to ask me, what are you doing? Because not only are you not the same woman that you were when Mason died, but you're not the same woman as even before. What the hell is happening? And so I would just, I have my indie, my Frenchie, my New Yorker. And they started asking me, can you share this with me? So naturally, organically, I started coaching first other women who had lost children, but then it expanded way past that because other women were saying, okay, I haven't lost a child, but I feel lost. I don't love myself anymore. I don't know who I am in the world. I don't know what I want anymore. So I started coaching them. So little by little, word of mouth. And now, almost 20 years later, we have thousands and thousands of women around the world who connect with their FemmeTypes every single day.
I actually took the quiz, which can be found on your website as well.
Yes.
And I was very proud of myself because I thought I was going to come back like 80% New Yorker because of the doing.
Yeah.
And I was very pleased when I got 40% and then 30 Frenchie and 30 indie. And I was like,
this is pretty good. This is pretty good.
So pleased. Thank you.
Because what I want to say is that some women will take the quiz and they'll be like, oh, I am a this. I am either a Frenchie, Indie, New Yorker. And the thing is, we have all three, but we're getting to see which one you're predominantly operating in so that you can utilize all of them. Because a lot of women will hide, like you're saying. Most women are like an 80, 90 or something % in their New Yorker because we've been taught that the more we do, the more valuable we are. The more we do, the more special we are, the more important we are. And then we have a tendency to leave the Frenchie and the indie on the back burner. So seeing this utilization of all of them, like really honoring yourself inside of this flow, provides us with a really beautiful reflection of our wholeness.
Well, and I do find myself, since I've done this, taking time to think about which one needs attention today. And I actually think when you have balanced somewhat, or you're like right now, this season happens to be a Frenchie season or a indie season, I'm just going to put a little bit more attention with there. Your overall work flow can come much easier.
It's so true. No, I love that you're saying that. I'm like like just touched that you took the time to really feel this for yourself. Like, no, really. Because, thinking, us being aware, okay, if we have these three aspects of ourselves, what is getting attention and what isn't? And you can start to feel in your formula like, oh my God, I put my Frenchie on the back burner. Like literally my assistant will look at my calendar and I have color coded for each femme type. And if there is not enough Frenchie in there, she will say, we need to book you a massage. We need to get you something needs to happen because your Frenchie, she's not getting enough attention. Same with indie, same with New Yorker, because it's unbelievable. Like the ache that we can start to recognize inside of, I am not honoring all of who I am.
I love this. So because you brought up your assistant does this, let's go through each one. And if you need to give more attention to one, can you give us some examples of maybe what you would do to take care of that part of you?
Yes. So a couple of things that I want to say as I preface this. Although we all have all three, our unique, intimate relationship with each one is going to be very special. So I can give what I would do, but I want everyone listening to know that your own relationship with them is going to be different and takes time. So I might say something specific for my Frenchie that might not resonate with you. And I might say something specific for my indie. And you might say, oh, actually, that would be New Yorker for me. So I would invite everyone to like really follow that for themselves. The simplest way for me, and what we say inside of Elegant Femme, is a beautiful life starts with a beautiful day. We all get addicted to this idea of what are we creating in the future? And we forget how freaking powerful every single day is. So from an overall perspective, I honor my FemmeTypes every single day by doing what we call structure your day the FemmeType way. Like I literally move from indie, Frenchie to New Yorker energy, and then New Yorker, Frenchie to indie energy throughout my entire day. So that I start and end my day with my indie. So there's a natural flow that's taking place. So like not opening up the computer after dinner and going back into New Yorker mode when we're really in wind down mode going into the indie. So for example, so keep that in mind. Like it's not just like, oh, let me need a spike of this FemmeType right at this moment. It's like a constant flow of being aware of that. So that's that. So for me, say if I felt a gap with my indie, which is the being. The indie is the femme type that supports us with the awareness of our being, the awareness of our self-worth, also the femme type that's connected with our increased capacity to receive. So for me personally, I'm in full receiving mode when I'm at the spa, when I'm getting a massage. So people are sometimes surprised that this is where I do a lot of my work. I actually create my programs at the spa. When most people would think, oh, you're going to the spa, it's for your Frenchie. It's for my indie. It's where I get all my creative ideas. It's where I feel the space for the creative flow. It's where I'm in an expansive space of, again, receiving messages, receiving the divine, just being in a space of co-creation. So if I was in a gap with my indie, I need to make sure that there's some spot time for me.
I'm thinking even of where mine are now. I love it.
Yeah, because it's really a personal discussion. Like, where do I feel the most connected? You know, the enjoyment with the Frenchie can be anything. It can be walking outside. It can be, you know, in a space of beauty, which beauty is different to every single one of us. I'll have women say to me, oh, I got my Frenchie, Tara. I got my pedicure. And I'm like, really? Okay, cool. Were you in Frenchie energy when you were getting your pedicure? Or were you in New Yorker energy because you knew you needed to get your toes done because you're going to a wedding next week? This doesn't work like this. We can't trick ourselves. We cannot.
I literally had that thought too. I was like, on the external view, you would think a pedicure is Frenchie, but I can totally see how it's a New Yorker.
Yes. So that's why we have to pay attention. That's why I was saying in the beginning, it's not just, oh, these things will take care of my femme type. It's like, really, what energy am I in? Because you could be hugging your fiance or playing with your puppy or hugging your child and be in such a state of enjoyment that you're like, wow, my Frenchie is overflowing right now. It's the awareness of where we're residing inside of ourselves. And this idea that I think all of us were taught as little girls that, like, you cannot play and you cannot enjoy till all the work is done. Right? Just even this idea of school, right? Think about that.
Yeah, I feel called out for that one.
Right?
Like, yeah.
And we were taught this in school. You cannot go to recess yet because your homework isn't done or your this isn't done. Or no, we have to reprioritize this. Like, can we gift ourselves permission to play and to be in the joy and to be in the expression of who we are first? And then, you know what? If there's any time left over, okay, do the thing.
Yeah.
Because the beauty is when you reprioritize this, and again, thinking of it through this flow. So being in the indie energy, connecting with your intention, connecting with your intuition, connecting with your receiving, moving into joy, moving into play, moving into beauty. Think of the workflow that happens after we've grounded ourselves in those two spaces.
Yeah.
No, the things that we get done are like, it takes a quarter of the time.
It's so much more productive because it's coming from a place of wanting to do it and not needing, because you're kind of refreshed and you've taken the gas off. You're like, I want to do it. It's such different energy, and the quality of the work or task or adventure goes up so much.
100%, because it's really based on desire energy. Not how can I get this done so I can somehow gift myself a reward because I was a good girl and I did the thing. It's, hold on a second. What am I prioritizing? Can I give myself an experience? Can I allow myself to enjoy this? And what's possible for me after I do that, as I do that?
Yeah. Wow. I feel so called out with what you said about with the work. How we've been told, first you have to do this before anything, for me, probably being in my Frenchie would be getting a nice glass of wine with the girls at dinner, having a super long dinner, like 3 hours minimum. We're talking, that is Frenchie for me, but I will feel guilty doing that if all the work's not done. And, it's when really maybe that will help me get even more work or get through with more grace because I had that time to recharge. And why do we deprive ourselves of these things? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's really important for us to remember, and we do know this, but we need to remember the work is never done. Ever, ever, ever. And we need to remember that it's actually not the point to get it done. This is a mind fuck. We think, okay, the point of being here in this existence is to get it all done. Nope. No. The point of being here is to experience this life. Period. Point. We say in French, point at the end. Like that, our souls came here to experience life, not to do life, not to get it done. And so when we reprioritize this, it does. Like whatever comes, whatever it is you choose to experience after you've allowed yourself, and not even after, like as a continuation of joy, changes the expression. Right? Because over time, they all start to really fuel each other into a flow. Like, this is who I am. I'm enjoying this. And this is what I'm here to share. It's not a compartmentalization. It's an expression of our wholeness. That's why it's not like, oh God, I'm working. Oh God, I'm this. It's I'm expressing all of who I am, and I love it.
Oh, I love that too, because I feel like we are so all striving to be the overnight success, which I think the education has become a little better than an overnight success. Takes 10 years, but we say that and then yet we still ignore it. And we move on, proceeding in this way of just, intense energy and focus. And, I think, especially coming to the end of my 20s, there comes a time kind of where you've earned your stripes. Like, how do you learn to let go of that energy and, handle life when it's so crazy, but with this different perspective of ease and flow?
Yeah. So I'm going to be 48 in a few weeks. And I feel like it's so true that there is a different level of grace and perspective with time, because you do start to realize that all of us can do this, like thinking about looking back at our lives and what is the story that we want to witness? What is the playback? What is the movie? What does that look like for us to sit at the seat of our own awareness and look back and be like, wow, babe, like you freaking rocked it. You lived this life fully. You gifted yourself permission to experience it all. It gives us that perspective of like the tenderness of what this life can offer us and the choices that we have. It's not to compare ourselves to others. It's not to get that gold star of success based on anyone else's ideas or ideals. It's this really intimate journey of us living out, I believe, our soul's expression. And when we come from that space, we make different choices. We understand the intensity of the moments and the love and the laughter. And that it's not just about how quickly can I make 6, 7, 8 figures. Because my experience when we refocus, so I'll tell a story that might give some perspective. So when I was already older than you. So let's see, I was 30. I was 30 when I had my youngest. And when he was 4 years old, we moved to France. Everyone told me, don't move to France. You have clients all over, in the States. You're going to be living in euros, making money in dollars. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. I followed my Frenchie. And within 1 month of moving to France, our business grew by 500%. Not because of a cool marketing plan. Not because I was launching some cool program. It's because I was in my pleasure. It was because I was in my joy. It was because I was allowing the expression of who I was to be a priority. And when we're in that space, things really do come to us. This idea that our mind has of, oh, I'm going to work so hard. And if I work so hard, then it's okay to let things come to me because I proved to everybody else, right, that I'm a hard worker and now it's okay to deserve this. It's not how it works. Like really, when we prioritize our own joy of life, things unfold way easier than we expect. Including money.
I couldn't agree more because I always say when you're driving the car of your life and you're driving really fast and you're driving the car really hard, that energy is felt and we kind of all see that needy, resistant energy and the world sees it too. And that is going to push away the things you're working to versus, we take a left turn just for fun and, we stop for a snack at the gas station. We listen to a good song. I think that really does just welcome in other people wanting to work with you, wanting you to succeed because they see an energy that's not resistant and needy and driving too fast. And I think that's a really important place to try to get to. But again, don't drive your car trying to get there. Just let it be.
Yeah, no, I've never heard that before. I love that visual that you brought forward. I mean, it's so true. It's so beautiful. And we're not talking about perfection, right? We're all human inside of it. So, it is about being real with ourselves because there'll be moments, right, when I think for myself or I forget forget that and need to be reminded of like, it's okay. Like I can relax into life. Like I'm totally taken care of. Like everything I desire is already here. It's just allowing it in.
Right. I'm going to kind of take a pivot, but it's
do
something
it.
I just feel like I can not ask you because it is so in line with this podcast. It's kind of in regards to the it girl of it all. I heard you say something in a podcast interview where you were talking about the shame and guilt of maybe loving fancy things and judging yourself for it. How did you come to this graceful peace with the battle of society telling you shouldn't spend or you shouldn't have or that's bragging? You know, it's okay to just love beautiful things.
Yeah. I love this question. I'm so glad you brought this forward. Yeah. I, from a little girl, from the time I was a little girl, I just loved things that were beautiful. Like I can remember being at a party when I don't even know, I must have been only like 4 years old. And my mom had dressed me in a red velvet dress and I had white tights on with little ruffles like on the butt. Oh, and I was running around the party, like showing everybody the ruffles. Like I was so proud of this. I was like, oh my God, I was so proud. And I remember at least my impression, right, at the time was like, don't do that. What are you doing? Like it was, even then, like my interpretation of this was, I'm doing something wrong. Like this isn't okay. And as I grew and continued to grow in, my mom would take us into a store and say, okay, everyone pick out something. And I would inevitably go pick out the most expensive thing, not because I was looking at the price tag, but there was an attraction to the quality. And so I really started to make myself wrong for this. And I started to overcompensate because I thought, oh gosh, I'm selfish. I don't want people to think I'm bad or I'm awful or so I started to overcompensate for that. I wanted everyone to know that I was spiritual or that I was a good girl. And so I would people please. And there was a big unraveling for me around this. And what I'll tell you a quote that actually changed my life completely around this. It's a John Keats quote, and he says, beauty equals truth, and truth equals beauty. That is all ye on earth need to know. And that for me was like really witnessing myself as this is a part of my expression. That beautiful things, luxurious things, I don't care if it's flying first class or buying a designer handbag or staying in the best hotels or sleeping in a freaking tent. It doesn't matter. It's what is the expression for us that reflects to us like, oh my God, I'm what? Like I'm living this life, not making anything wrong. Nothing's good, nothing's bad, nothing's more spiritual than something else. So when we can begin to unravel this, one of the things we say inside of Elegant Femme is our desires are the impetus to our spiritual evolution. And when we stop making ourselves wrong for anything that we want, anything, to me, this is where the real work begins.
I love that because I think it's another lovely lesson of just if you're ignoring your desires and you're, throwing a pebble in the gears, that soul-led life is not going to come. And, it's a really common thing I think women deal with, not feeling guilt about wanting certain things or having things. And like, we just need to leave the judgment behind and have our desires met without spending too much energy lost on that. And I think that keeps our wheels going.
Yeah. And I mean, does that drop the judgment towards ourselves and also drop the judgment towards each other?
Yes.
I can't tell you how many messages I've gotten, and not really, let me reframe that. I haven't gotten that many, but the few I've gotten sting, where a woman will say to me, I can't believe you're talking about your first class trip to Milan. Like, you talk about spirituality. This isn't your message. And this ache inside, again, like reminding my little girl, that's like, wait a minute. And I'm like, hold on. It is all spiritual. So we don't have to talk ourselves out of what we desire. We also don't have to talk ourselves into what we desire. So if anyone's listening to this and they're like, look, I don't resonate with first class to Milan at all. I'm good, fantastic. Own that. Enjoy that. Once we can like really gift ourselves permission and stop judging each other. Like, get Botox if you want Botox. Don't if you don't. Like, it doesn't matter. Once we can just look at each other in beauty and be like, you know what, whatever fully turns you on, like I'm all for it. Like, let's all live into our own beauty, own our own beauty, and cheer each other on along the way. It's not a competition.
Wow, that is such a beautiful note to end this podcast on. Tara, you are wonderful. This episodes like this is like why I wanted to do this podcast. This was so wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I do want you to tell everybody where they can find you, find Elegant Femme, and all the good things.
Yes. Well, I know you already took the Femme Design Assessment, so we have a special link created for your audience. It's going to be elegantfemme.com/Marley. For anyone who wants to take the Femme Design Assessment, that's a beautiful introduction to the FemmeTypes. And then, of course, we're on Instagram, Tara Marino, and then elegantfemme.ef. So we're there.
You're beautiful. Thank you so much again for taking the time.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to Confessions of a Wannabe It Girl. Don't forget to rate and subscribe to the show. As always, we'll see you next Tuesday.